I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast. This is a show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. And today I'm joined by Mr. Roy Coughlan. He is going to be joining us and telling us a little bit about his background. So, a little bit about Roy. He is a seasoned serial entrepreneur with an impressive track record of founding 20 companies across 5 countries. As a podcast coach and host, Roy has successfully launched and driven 6 podcasts to the top echelons of the industry, with all consistently ranking in the top 5% and four reaching the prestigious top 0.5%. In addition to his podcasting prowess, he is the co-founder of BrainGym.Fitness, a platform dedicated to enhancing cognitive abilities and empowering individuals to optimize their mental performance. He is also the co-founder of VA.World, where he specializes in connecting clients with the perfect virtual assistants to meet their diverse needs. Roy's entrepreneurial spirit and innovative approach continues to inspire and impact audiences worldwide, making him a leading figure in both the podcasting and business communities. So I want to give a huge welcome to Roy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for a very nice introduction. And yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
So if you could just tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
So I'm Irish originally from Cork, which is in the south of Ireland. And I was kind of serial entrepreneur from a young age. I was kind of going around washing cars and doing gardening and things like that, delivering leaflets at 9, at 11. I started a newspaper round and I was doing that up to college. With the money from the newspapers at 14, I bought a lawnmower, went around cutting grass. Then at 18, I was buying and selling motorbikes, did that for a bit. And I studied construction economics and management. I did a diploma in that, then started working for a mechanical contractor. Then I did a diploma in applied project management. Worked for one of the biggest mechanical contractors for 8.5 years as a contracts manager, then for another company as a regional manager, and eventually moved to Poland 18 years ago, started doing real estate. Originally, I kind of went when I visiting Poland, I saw, oh, real estate is cheap. That's why and I set up a company to kind of sell it mainly for Irish, but as it turned out, I was getting English and American investors, and I had a big team. I had about 14 people on my books at one stage. So I was doing that. And over the years, then I've worked on different companies. I got wiped out as well. So with the journey with real estate, so I went through that, went through ups and downs, but kind of through my journey, kind of enjoy life a lot more based on my experiences.
So has podcasting been something that you were always interested in, or did it just kind of happen spontaneously?
So it's kind of in line with what I just said that when I kind of lost everything. So I had a big real estate empire and I was doing commercial. I was managing over 200 properties. I was building, 30 apartments. I was building houses. And I was doing well, and different investors that I had, we put syndicates together, they got in trouble, and they were big. They were a lot bigger than me when we started off. And I thought it would come right. It didn't. I ended up losing everything. And I was personally liable for about 5 million. Got through that and went to an event, and the event was What's Your Quest? And it was at that I said, okay, I need to start exposing all this corruption because through my journey, I had over 100 court cases. I saw there was a load of corruption and I wanted to expose it. But I also realized I didn't like public speaking and I needed to overcome that fear because I saw great speakers at that event. When I came back, I joined the Toastmasters and then kind of joined another, became a coach for my own club. And at another event, there was somebody that was podcasting. And I said, oh, this is a good way of me actually getting my message out. So he done a workshop. I said, I can do this. And my very first one was, 2018 was the speaking podcast. That was my first one. So that's how I got into it.
What are some ways to help grow your podcast and have podcasts be successful?
Like there's a lot of different things. I mean, you were a guest on my Podfather one, which is one that actually uh, kind of shares tips and things like that. And I was complimenting your graphic. That's a very important one. You can see the graphic if you're watching on video, you can see the graphics of mine. And I didn't always do that. Like at the start, the Polish one, I didn't think that would be that successful. And what I did is I set up a tripod, took a picture, and I have a graphic of it being ahead of Duolingo, BBC, and a few other languages. It was number one in the charts. And then eventually I kind of decided, okay, I need to do this. So what I would say is one, get a graphic because what happens is sometimes people they create a graphic and they're looking at it on their screen and they're going, oh, this is lovely. They forget that, like if we look now, that's what you see when you go through a screen full of them, and you have to grab their attention. And it's all about grabbing their attention. So that's one thing to do. The other thing is having like a domain name that people can remember, because sometimes people might have a podcast and their domain name is totally different. Make it easy for people to find you. So even if you can't get .com, I mean, I've got like speakingpodcast.com, meditationpodcast.org. So if the .com wasn't there, I was putting the .org. But so you can have .org, .net. There's so many out now. You can get .life, .world and everything. So I would say have something that when you're having your show, letting people know, because you just assume that they find you on YouTube and they could just find you somewhere through a social media post and then they start listening. And it's better to tell them. And if you can have a website that's not too long, make it easy. That's one. Another thing is a lot of times people, when they're doing a podcast, they might spend hours editing it. They might, spend so much time. And the reality is you have to put so much time into the marketing as well. Not everyone likes marketing, but just kind of find something that works for you. There's so much social media channels. Like TikTok is working very well for me now. I've added the Polish, but combined, I've nearly a million views on my TikTok, and that's just the shorts that I'm putting up. And you just don't know. Instagram didn't work for me, but it works very well for some people, like LinkedIn. But what I find is a lot of people say, "Oh, Facebook doesn't work." Facebook works if you do it right. So, like a lot of times, people they find podcasting groups and they're posting their stuff into podcasters. So that's like you putting your post and expecting me to follow you as well as the 10,000 other people and vice versa. Not one, I'd say, like I've told people before, it's the same as going into a doctor convention looking for patients. That's not where you're going to find your listeners and your followers. You have to go, okay, who's interested in what I'm doing? So, for example, the crypto, I mean, I have to find groups that are kind of crypto blockchain with the awakening. I'm finding groups that are open to like what's going on in the world and the corruption and how to fix it. The Polish one, I'm in something like 48, 50 groups for the Polish. Foreigners in Poland, uh, foreigners in Chicago, Polish in Chicago, Polish in Ireland. They're the people that are listening and I share to them groups and people then comment. And one of the things with Facebook is people give a thumbs up or a heart or whatever. You can click on that and then invite them to your page. It's easy to do and it's easy not to do. But when you start doing that, you just start growing your page. And then you'll find that there's people then that are even sharing your posts or they're commenting on all your posts, which in turn help the algorithms. And I would say that that's another thing that will help you with your show.
Social media is kind of nitpicky. You don't know what platform will do well for your podcast. And, it's similar to on TikTok as well. If you post a video, you have no idea or knowledge about how well the video is going to do on the platform. You could put like a very detailed in production type video that involves hours and hours of editing, has very professional microphones and lighting, and it could probably get 100 views. Where you post like a 10-second video of just like a bug on a flower and it gets 10 million views. So you never quite know exactly what platform your content is going to do well on. You could have one video do well on one platform and then you might have another video do well on another platform, and it just kind of is back and forth. So you never quite can tell. Like, here's an example for me. I had a guest on my show, and I tagged him on Instagram to have him as post as the reel on his social media as well. That video got over 2,000 views mainly from his account, and then there was another reel I posted that got barely 100. So it was a thing of you can't really plan or tell what video's going to take off or not. Um, people always have a thing for podcasts. They're like, oh, it's hard to kind of start a podcast, or I don't quite know where to begin. Can you give some advice about where someone can start and the easiest way to begin a podcast and can get their word out and get their story shared?
There's different options because I'm always kind of I cater for all budgets because sometimes people are struggling and they don't have disposable income. They're just trying to keep a roof over their head and food in their belly, so that's okay. So you can go online. There's plenty of stuff. I even have some videos. I done some workshops when I was doing Toastmasters, how to start. It'll help you. It'll get you going, give you plenty of advice, get advice on microphones and everything. There's plenty of things like that. Then there's kind of courses. I offer courses. There's other people that do courses as well. There's books. When I started, I read a lot of books. And the thing is, there's a lot of people writing books about podcasting that don't even have a podcast. There's also podcasting coaches that don't even have a podcast. And just check what they have done, what they've achieved, where they've done, because there's a lot of people, they'll they're kind of promoting everything and they haven't even got into the top of the charts. And if you're going to spend money, make sure that you're getting well served. And going back, it's like what I would say is if you've got something of value that you can share with the world, you can do it. The other thing is like the crypto one. I mean, I understood a bit of crypto, but not too much. I've learned so much by asking, bringing on guests, so you can actually be just curious and set up a podcast to do it. So your life will change based on the interviews that you do. And if you kind of do it, that you're going to just not wing it, just not go, I'll try this. And then if you say commit to a year at least, I know do maybe one show a week, maybe two, but you'll actually start enjoying it so much. There's a way better chance that you'll actually start enjoying it. And the other thing then is that like a lot of times people are kind of looking to monetize it. You can start selling your own services. So I mean, like when I'm doing the virtual assistants or the brain gym or the podcast coaching. And that's the most important thing to me. I'm not being aggressive. It's like, and then I have forms where people can click the box if they're interested in that. So you can do that. And there's also like if you're setting up a show, you could be interviewing people that could be potential customers for you that you would never get a chance to actually make a phone call with. And they'd be happy to come on your podcast. And then you're after having a relationship. You're having an hour conversation that they might eventually become your customers. So you don't need a million views or downloads. You could have 10 per episode and it'll still serve you. So, but what I say is if you want the world to be a better place and you have a skill set that can do it, I'd encourage people to do it. I'm not a technical person. And what I did is I got somebody in at the start to show me how to edit and everything. It's easy. Don't be afraid about it. You'll do stuff, you'll get lighting, you'll get cameras, you get mics, you do things, and you just learn. And what you'll find is when you're talking to other podcasters, it's a sharing. No one is competing. I mean, I've had, especially on the Podford, I've got even lots of coaches. And all we're doing is sharing ideas with you. The world is big. You don't have to be going holding your cards to you. And there's plenty of information out there that will actually help you to improve your show or just get it going?
I always tell people, um, podcasting's not too difficult. Just kind of the background of, say, for someone like me that had no idea how a podcast began or how a podcast started, I thought it was difficult. But once I finally kind of got a general idea and basis of it, of how to record, how to edit. It really wasn't that difficult. It takes a lot of research, especially if you've never done a podcast or you've never done any kind of course on it. Um, you have to do a very good bit of research and you have to just do a lot of trial and error about what editing softwares you like, what microphone you like. Do you like having just guests on your show? Do you want your podcast just to be fully you and not have anything? So there's a lot of trial and error that you have to do to finally figure out and learn about what the format of the show is. But once you get like the general basis of recording equipment as well as editing software, and then a way for you to post your podcast on multiple platforms, it's not really that difficult to do. Once you kind of get the groove on, it really, really is not that hard. I've I thought it was really hard at first, but now it's fairly simple. Um, you know, Switching gears here a little bit, you also, when I did your intro, mentioned that you were an entrepreneur. Um, Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneur journey and how it's grown over the years.
It's an interesting one because a lot of times people they'll say, "Oh, I studied to be, say, an accountant. I studied to be a lawyer. I studied to be this, that," and they hate their job and they think because that's my qualifications, that's what I kind of do, and they stick with it and they chug through life not liking it. The reality is every business is a people business. And you can learn, just like we learned out the podcast, you can learn anything. And I've done so many. I've got a food truck at one stage. I've done a mobile internet business. I've done web design. Like, I mean, the ones now, the virtual assistant. But like every time you're doing something, it's like one, you can have partners that are specialists in it. Or two, you can go away and get a lot of books, listen to a lot of podcasts, and actually start understanding it better and just build. And sometimes you can have a job, you can work for, say, a corporation, you're working away and do it on the side and build it. And then, as the income increases, then you can decide to walk away. So I have done so many different businesses and I've looked at a lot and then I could be halfway down and I go, nah, this isn't for me. It's like if it's not serving me, if I don't feel energetic about it, it's okay to walk away as well. There's times like even the property, like I've done that for years and then it kind of ran its course and got knocked out. But there's so many different things that you can do. And even with like say the podcasting, there's so many things that can come from that as well. So with entrepreneurs and say like business, like for example, if you're setting up a business, what I would say is what I've learned is if you were looking for an accountant, I've changed accountants so many times. You need to understand your books. You need to understand your numbers. Yeah, you can have an accountant to do all the crossing the T's and dotting the I's and things like that, but nobody's going to be watching your money or caring about your money more than you. So I'll give you an example. When I had the Polish company. I did an Irish one as well it was called Polera. And I had accountants that were also tax advisors, and they told me at the end of the year what my tax bill was. And what I did is I got a book called Tax Magic. It was written by one of the guys that was from the revenue. I went through it from page to page and I put all the notes and everything. And I said to him, can I do this, 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 this? Yeah, 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 yeah. And I ended up getting a tax rebate. And what I found is most of the time they don't tell you these things. You have to learn what you can do. Like so even in your house, if you're using your house, you can not only set aside a part of your room for your costs, but also part of the electricity and everything. And some people don't bother because it depends on the amount of money that you're doing. But if you're watching the pennies, and it makes a big difference knowing these things and understanding the different things that you can do to actually keep the money. The same with the solicitor. I mean, I've had over 100 court cases. People usually, when they're in business, they just pass it over and let the attorney or the solicitor, lawyer, whatever you call them, do their thing. They're kind of loyal to the dollar most of the time. They're not really your best friend. You have to pay attention. You have to prepare yourself. And when you're paying attention and listening, most of the cases that I won was not from my solicitor, it was from me passing a piece of paper or saying something because I'd spot a lie or I'd find something. Like there was one where I put a line through a zero and I put a line through it. And the judge had called me up asking, was this my signature? And I said, yeah, it looks like my signature, but that is not the date because the number. And I was able to go back and look at other ones and it kind of caught him out. And there was another thing they were showing they were pretending it was an original. And I said, that's a colored scan. And I could just from business experience, I knew it was a colored scan. And just these little things made me win the case. And it's like a lot of times people just sit back and they just kind of, so if you're in business, look at the accountants, look at the thing. And also sometimes people, they wait till they're making the money and they're looking for tax optimization. Do that at the start. Start thinking, okay, what's the best way that I can do that I keep most of the money in my pocket instead of giving it to the people that just waste it? And if you watch them things, then whatever business you get into, you have a way better chance of success.
You own numerous companies. Can you tell me and share some of the companies that you've created?
Mobile media placement was one where we were creating advertisements in games. So we got investors for that valued it at over 1 million, the company. And we were getting, like, say you're going along and drinking like a Coke or something like that as an energy booster running under a bridge. We were doing that in 2012, I think, something like that, before it became popular. So that was one of them. As I mentioned, the food truck started off doing that. I lost on that one. That didn't work out for me. I just thought this is a hard business, and I take my hat off to anybody that does it. And my main problem was with the city. I went around when I got the food truck and I basically went partners with a guy who had worked in the fish and chips industry. He was trained properly. He was from England. We were both in Poland. We went away. We looked at hundreds of vans. We went to the UK to bring the van back. And I done nice colouring and everything. And I went to the city and I was asking them for locations. And I knew where would be a good location. And all they mentioned was kind of really terrible places. So they said you can go private. So I went to a private car park, which is parallel to the main street, but also a busy place with lots of bus stops and everything. And eventually they shut us down. They didn't want us there. So they attacked us in every direction. And regulation, how they do things, can hurt you as well. And you just have to, you know, you can prepare a lot better than I did for that one. Real estate, I mean, I built apartments, like managing how that whole business kind of worked out is first of all, I was just selling apartments, second-hand apartments from people. So I'd go away and search it and send it details to Ireland to say, yeah, we're interested. A load of people they didn't even come to Poland. We'd done a power of attorney and we bought them. And then they'd say, okay, we needed to fit it out or renovated. So I done hundreds of renovations and that became another part of the company. And then fitting them out and all the furniture and stuff like that, and then managing them. So we were managing a load of properties. So there was like loads of stuff like that, and just getting planning permission for different sites. I done lots of things like that. So I had a lot of real estate projects that I was doing.
Earlier, you had mentioned about virtual assistant and how kind of reliable virtual assistants can be. How have virtual assistants helped your business grow?
So what it was mainly for the podcasting is when I kind of started. When Poland started going, and most of the Poles were emigrating to Germany, Norway, England, and Ireland. I had a recruitment company, and I was actually placing a lot of them into construction. So I got a recruitment license, and that was working out well for me. But then when I moved over, I had to move over with all the projects I was doing. I had to kind of walk away from that. So I had experience with kind of recruitment, plus working in Ireland. I had hundreds under me. So I've always hired lots of people and with all the different business and have to let go a lot of people as well. So I understood kind of quality people. There's Fiverr and Upwork that you can use. So I started using them at the start. And yeah, eventually you will try to look at reviews and things like that. They start off great. And then within a month, it's like, what? I'm watching them trying to hold their hand and just hoping they're doing something. It always never worked out. Upwork, you were getting pictures, they were giving you screenshots, and you were thinking, oh, this is great. And then you were looking at the screenshots and you're going, well, what exactly are they doing? And it's like, I'm convinced half of them are they have a few computers and they're not. Or there's even somebody recently who was on a big job that they're doing a lot of jobs remotely, and this is high level jobs. There's a guy got caught recently on that, and I reckon most of these people are doing that. Like they're charging so much, but they're because they're doing so many. It's very hard to know what to do. So with our business, like my partner, we've got an office in Pakistan, and we don't. She's got access to the passwords and stuff like that, but we don't give it to the employees. So we want to protect our clients. And the other thing is we've got so many different things that we do, but we like to do packages rather than we can do hourly rates and stuff like that. And depending on the level of what you want to do. But for example, like we work with a lot of people with podcasts, and it's like they want it maybe edited, they want it uploaded, they want shorts created, they want it put everywhere, different things like that. And we know what we need to do. So we sit down, we have a meeting, we plan everything out. Yeah, there's teething problems. It's not that this is what we're doing, and but we're there. We're there to resolve any issue straight away. And then it gets flowed and it goes nice. So we heavily check the people that are going to work with us because we want the best. And then you don't have to watch that, and you don't have to be checking every second. Have they done it? Have they done it? Because we know we need to do, and we want to continue a monthly relationship. So we're not in it for the short haul like a lot of the people are. We're in it because even a lot of the times what happens is somebody comes in and they do it, and because their business is successful, then they get us to do more and more, or they're recommending it. So we're kind of in it for the long haul and making sure that it's like how I like to be treated, how I like services done, that you know that you're safe, they're in your corner, and they're not just trying to pretend that they're doing work for you.
What are some marketing tips that you've learned over the years, and just some tips that you've um, portrayed into your business that can help someone that's starting out a business or wants the idea of growing their business succeed?
Well, what I do is I study marketing, study copywriting, like Ted Nicholas on copywriting, Wordsmith, I think it's called. There's a few books that he's written. He's very good, or you can get, audios on it. Like I subscribed to Glazer Kennedy for years. I bought a lot of uh, Dan Kennedy books, Frank Kern. There's a few that are really good, and just start studying them and learning it. I mean, people can outsource that, they can go away and do it. There's a lot of companies they'll go, hey, for 8 grand we'll get you leads, or 6 grand. You pay your 6 grand, you don't get any leads, and then you're doing the next company. And it's like you have to try to understand how it works anyway, so that when people are coming along that maybe you don't want to do it yourself, but you need to understand how all this works. You can do paid ads. My experience with a lot of paid ads is the minute you start paying, your organic stops. And the best is trying to do it organically, but you need engagement. And that's why maybe a VA can come in at times is by engaging in the social media and going and making comments instead of trying to sell, because that's what a lot of people do. They're just putting out sales things. So with the marketing is engagement, that no matter what platform you're in, that you just comment, you're listening to stuff. So maybe that takes a lot of time. So you can train somebody to be doing that for you, which in turn can come in. But what I would say is, like, I've got a lot of books, and what I do is when I get into a new business, I open the books again and I go through them because my head is now in a different place. I wasn't thinking of, say, the VA when I was reading my marketing books a couple of years ago. So then I go through that and I make a plan and have an action plan, and then just, have tasks all the time. Because a lot of times, especially podcasters, like a lot of times we're chugging through and we're doing a lot of the stuff. But are you actually working on whatever you're trying to sell or whatever you're doing? Are you actually making an effort in that? And by having a kind of checklist of things to do, make that priority over a lot of other stuff. But that then will start feeding you, which in turn, when you're making sales, just say you're coaching, that you can then hire somebody to do a lot of the other stuff. So I'd say become a student of marketing. Go away and buy books and make notes, color your books, have all the different things, have checklists, and then have a plan. Don't just read a book. Just read a marketing book. Like I bought Facebook books, I bought Google books. I'm constantly talking to people. There's a lot of people trying to sell stuff to me. I'll jump on a call once I think they're kind of professional. I listen to them, maybe give them a shout. There's times, a lot of the times, even clients that I work with, they've lost a lot of money from people pretending that they'll do this, that, and the other thing. So it's like, and loads of people, they're spending a fortune on Facebook ads and they're losing. So you really need to know what you're doing and track everything. You don't have to do massive amounts, but you can do $10 a day or whatever, and just make sure that you're looking. If you're doing your analytics on what you're doing, some people, they just do an ad. Like if you know that your clients are women aged 40 to 50 in the US, that's where you put your ads. Don't just do an international ad to everybody because you're wasting money. And like there's so many things like that that when you're reading these marketing books or listening to marketing podcasts, there's some brilliant podcasts out there that you can be listening to and try to, like, if you're doing that weekly, then you're not overwhelming yourself. And the beauty is, no matter what happens in life, because sometimes businesses don't work and you just kind of lose what you've put into it and you start again. But if you study marketing and people skills as well, you start off with that in your bag for the next job or project or company that you're going to do. And one book that I would say is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Like a lot of people say, oh, yeah, it's grand. I mean, I read it years ago. You can buy the audio of that as well. But that's a great way because it's, as I said earlier, it's a people business. Every time you're doing something, it's with people. And the more skills that you have for connecting with people, the better chance you have of success.
What have been some huge inspirations throughout your whole entrepreneur and podcast journey? Who have you really relied on for advice, and who would you give people that are want to start a business or want to do a podcast some tools? So, who have been some of your just huge inspirations?
My mother. I'm a mummy's boy. So, like, she's always had my back, and I bounce ideas off her. She, like, doesn't understand a lot of the stuff with that I do, but
Mm.
at the same time, she's very good with people. So she's got very good intuition, and it's just, it's a backbone. I'm very lucky to have a great relationship with her. So, that for me, I mean, there was one time when I was doing real estate. He's passed now, unfortunately, but he was a massive guy in Ireland. He was a billionaire. He was like one of the biggest developers. And I had met him when I was working for one of the companies in Ireland. I worked as a regional manager, and we took him out to a game of golf, because that happens as you're trying to make relationships and stuff. And I just got on with him. I stayed in contact and I asked him to be my mentor. I just phoned him up and asked him, and he said, no problem. And when I used to come back to Ireland, he'd meet up with me. We'd go for dinner, lunch, like kind of 1 o'clock in Ireland is the kind of thing we'd have. And I would want to pay. And he'd go, no, you paid the last time. And he'd insist on paying. So, I mean, for me, it was like he'd give me so much information. So sometimes people be afraid to do that. I mean, what's the worst he could have said is no. But, thankfully he said yes. And I learned so much from him. And the other thing is like your circle of, I mean, I've got a load of friends that are entrepreneurs. So if you've got friends that are just talking about people, that's not going to help your business. If you've got friends that are just watching the television, talking about television, or watching about the game, they know every single player in the baseball league or the basketball league or whatever, whoopie doo, that's not going to serve your business. But if you've got people that are entrepreneurial, when you're meeting, you're talking about different things that is working, what's not working, and you pick up ideas, or you can combine stuff and do things together. And the circle that you've got makes a massive difference as well.
I hope a lot of people that have listened here have learned, because the business industry is kind of really crappy right now. I don't know how it is over in Poland, and I don't know how the Europe is right now. But United States businesses and job wise, it's just been a complete mess. You have multiple businesses that have been being shut down. You have people that are struggling to find the 9 to 5 job where they can help um, pay their bills as well as help pay their families and kind of just survive right now. It's really, really difficult. I've witnessed this firsthand about job hunting, and I've just heard horror stories you see on the news all the time. So for people that are struggling with a business right now, what advice do you have for them to not give up on their dream, as well as if their business is being endangerment of being shut down, how can they help start over, and or how can they keep fighting for their business?
You have to look at each one individually. So there was times that I would have a lot of businesses and I'd have one that in my head, I was the optimist and a lot of entrepreneurs are optimists and I would feed it from another business and I was just throwing money down the drain. So if it's not surviving on its own, sometimes you have to cut the umbilical cord, let it go. It's hard. You have to kind of look at it and then think, am I doing everything? Because sometimes we can be busy fools. We can be doing the things that we think are important, but are you really searching for clients? I mean, with AI now, you can go in and unfortunately, a lot of jobs are lost to AI, especially corporations and stuff like that, a lot of jobs. But what you can do is you could go in and don't just type basic things. If you ask really detailed advice, please review my website. Give me advice on how I can do this better. Ask it different ways of actually how you can actually structure marketing and do the. It will give you like use AI agent that's just giving you the whole plan on how to do it. That's simple to do, but most people will do that and they won't do it. It's people live in hope. You have to put the sweat equity in. So, like, instead of just going away and watching, Netflix series and binge watching or whatever, like, no, like, are you listening to a podcast? If you're going for a walk, if you're at the gym, double dip. That's what I say. If I'm ironing, I'm listening to a podcast. If I'm walking, I'm listening to a podcast. And just do as much things like that that will help you. But I think it's all down to pen and paper, action plans, or print it out. Like 'cause sometimes people type everything, but they don't do anything about it. Print it off, have it in front of you, have it downstairs, have it everywhere, and just start ticking it off and go, okay, well, how am I going to get this off my list today? And if there are things that are strategic that will actually help you getting clients, whatever the business is, and sometimes a company just runs its time. It just might be something else happens in the area. It just you could have run its course, and you have to kind of accept that as well. And then think, okay, with the skill set that I've learned from this, what could I kind of pivot to instead of like sometimes people live in hope or just complain about it. But if you look around and you go, say real estate or brokers or insurance people, there's 95% will be complaining that they're not making money. And there's 5% or 1% that's making millions. So you can't say that the market is terrible. It's they're doing something different. And if you kind of, when you read the books of the really successful people and start just listening to business owners that have very successful employees, it's the people that put in the sweat equity instead of I wish, I hope. You know, hope isn't a strategy. It's kind of make a plan, action the plan, and then reassess and readjust and just keep doing that. And before you know it, leads will start coming in, track everything. If I'm getting, calls and I'm not closing, don't just keep getting calls and getting more calls in. There's something wrong. So find out where you're losing people. If you're not getting them into the funnel, why aren't they getting into the funnel? So you work on that. And then if it's you're losing them on a call, you're doing something wrong. You're maybe too aggressive or you're not aggressive enough. You're not trying to get the sale. You're just having a chit chat. Have a strategy. Like for example, with the coaching, at one stage, I was just talking away to people. They were coming on and they were asking me for a load of information, and I was sharing everything. I didn't mind. But there was a lot of people that's all they wanted. They just booked a call just to get information. They had no intention of doing it. And now what I do is I tell them what I will be doing for them and if they want me or not. And I don't give an hour. I set aside 15, 20 minutes. You know fairly soon enough whether you want to do that. And just kind of look at everything like that. And combined, it should help your business or whatever you're doing.
Well, I hope all my listeners have gained some huge insight and some advice about businesses and podcasting. I know it's hard to start. For podcasts, it's easy, but I know for businesses, it's really difficult right now, especially in the States where our political climate is really bad right now. And I think the main message that we want to, or Roy wants to say is don't give up on your dream. Don't be told if your business is not good enough. Just keep fighting for it. And I promise you that it will be successful and you'll be happy that you pursue it. Um, at this time, I'll let Roy just self promo himself, give all of his social media accounts and websites so in case people, if you're listening and would like to know more information and just kind of follow him. Um, I'll let him share that. So, where all can my listeners find you, and what are some social media platforms that you are most active on?
Well, if they're watching, they can scan the QR code or go to roycoughlan.com where you find my six podcasts and all my coaching stuff. And if you're looking for a virtual assistant, go to va.world, and braingym.fitness is another business. And yeah, you find all my socials there. If you're on LinkedIn, happy to connect with anyone. It's yeah, so thank you very much. No.
Well, thank you so much. And as I always do with all my guests, I'll put all of his links and social media accounts in the description below, so that all of his links will be in one spot where you don't have to go searching. It's all easy access for all my listeners. For my podcast, feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Lethal Venom Podcast, as well as YouTube and Facebook at Noah's Podcast. And of course, you can always listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcasts from, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's everywhere. Just feel free to go stream it. I want to give a huge thank you to Roy for joining us today. I appreciate you so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing some insights on businesses and how to start podcasts. I really appreciate it. To all my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day, week, night, whenever you listen to it, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of Lethal Venom.